Good afternoon everyone. This will be a long form video, in particular from the testing play session down at Cirque on the weekend past last Saturday. It wasn't a race day, not enough people turned up, which was a disappointment because there were a lot of other events happening, so people couldn't make it. But down there with a couple of the drivers from the club, just testing, playing around with bits and pieces, playing around with the car, just seeing what I can find out more about the V5BT and also the settings that impact the car so much, as I found out, between Geelong the weekend prior and this weekend past. Chalk and cheese, what the ESC can do. Pardon me. Took the car out to a Cirque, which is an outdoor facility. Medium grip surface once cleaned and a bit of sugar water put down. The sugar water is more than likely to settle the dust that comes around from all the trees in the area that drop pollen and stuff like that. But we do a good blow down, then we just sugar it up with normal soda pop. In other words, cheap soda water, lemonade, that type of stuff. And it settles the surface for everyone to be able to get some grip out of the tyres they use. Now, taking the setup from Geelong, which was my own idea on what is basically put down on the pink sheet that is supplied with the ESC, which is that one there, reading through all the parameters that are available and trying to sort of make a guess out of what can and can't be used on the actual. That's the right side up, by the way, the other way was wrong. But setting all the parameters to what I believe would be comfortable to drive down at Geelong. Now, Geelong's surface is a black painted surface, tennis court paint with a grit through it. So there is grip. It's actually pretty good. So I set the settings roughly where I thought they'd be compared to that. And it was good. It was a bit abrupt at some points. So I had to tone it down a little bit. Not that far off what the recommended default settings are, but it did come out quite good. Cirque on a different hand, a little bit different. I decided to go all the way. Oh, well, pardon me, there's a spider. Good. Where did that come from? Decided to go to the default setting that's in the setup sheet that's supplied by Team Powers to see where the car would feel, and there's the phone game Bing as usual, to find out where the car would feel the best in driving compared to what Geelong was. Chalk and cheese, absolutely chalk and cheese. Running a V413 with the settings, the default settings out of the sheet that is supplied with the ESC, and it's a brilliant place to start, I'll tell you that. The car had massive pull out of the corner, but without the inherent how would you call it, wheel spin that you normally find with a lot of punch coming off the trigger. Off the trigger, the power was delivered really smooth, very smooth, and it just kept on winding the motor out. Now, for my own benefit, and just to make sure that I don't go too crazy on what the car can and can't do, especially in speed and that type of stuff, I only set the timing to 0, just to get a feel of it first. In the infield of Cirque, which is quite technical, car was brilliant. Able to drive it on the trigger nearly 90% of the time. Down the straight, it lost out a little bit because obviously at 0 timing, there wasn't much there. I have sent out, or actually I should say I have written down the settings for the car, which was very easy to drive. Maybe a little bit too easy. Lots of grip, lots of bite, lots of steering, but really tame, very tame, but still massive pull out of the corners. Down the straight, it lost out a bit, obviously, because there wasn't enough timing for speed. So it was running equal to maybe a little bit quicker than a 17.5, all right? And the straight's not that big, it's actually quite short, about 40 meters, give or take, I think, from memory. Decided to go up to about 10-degree timing. Still don't want to find out if I've gone too far or too less or otherwise. Put the car back on the track. Ran 2 sets of tyres, an opposite brand to the Team Powers and the Team Powers 42 issues. The other brand, they were 36s, and they actually worked really, really good. The car was a little bit faster, but you could see that it was maybe wanting to slide a little bit more, but it made the car faster. It made the car feel that it was faster around the actual hairpins, the sweepers, and all that type of stuff. The 42s, though, on the other hand, with the settings out of the ESC, which were default, a lot more, they provide a lot more grip, and it slows the car down because it's biting way, way more than what you'd expect it to. This was good because there was more confidence in going harder through the infield with more trigger, but it did slow the car down. Now, my fastest lap, and this is not a comparison to anyone else, it's only a comparison to what I was able to do on the day. The motor set at 10 degrees. Fastest lap was a 19.5, and that's clean, methodical driving, and it was about maybe half a second slower than the fastest lap that one of the other two guys there, which was either Toby Turner, brilliant driver, and Blair Craddock, again, brilliant drivers, two different cars, and they were doing, I think they were doing 19.1s, 19.2s, something like that, but they were running completely different cars, completely different everything else, but trying to crack a 19.5 on this setup with the 10 degrees time on the motor and the default settings on the Speedy, absolutely massive, massive feel in the car. Drive clean, don't try and drive, as they say, don't try and push the car past its envelope. Brilliant car. I was able to do a 19.5, gave me a headache doing that, and then averaged out around about a 20-second lap. So half a second, if you look at it, half a second per lap slower on the timing and the settings. I should have gone up on the timing. We'll look at that later and to see what it was done, but it was really just to see where the ESC felt the best, and it was brilliant. Now, the connection on the Bluetooth on the actual phone is quick and easy. There is no issues at all trying to set it up in either Android or in Apple. So, and the application of the actual settings is really, really fast, which was the best part of it. Now, I'll read you out, if you haven't got the ESC yet, I'll read you out what the settings are. Pardon me, grandpa glasses. Now, to give you an idea on 13.5, okay, FDR is on this car at around about 4.6-ish, give or take, okay. For our track, 4.6-ish. Throttle response was 0.2. Throttle compress rate was 12. Throttle off rate, 0. Don't need it. Okay. Deadband, choose your radio, where whatever radio you have, choose your deadband. Some start at 3, some go to 4, 6, 12. It just depends on the radio. That's a figure that's sort of out there to play around with until you get it right. IP limiter 12 on the low scale. Okay. Power limiter was 0. Pardon me. Limit power range 60. Maximum forward force and maximum reverse force. We don't use reverse, so that was on 25, but the forward was on 100. No boost, no turbo. Okay. Reverse delay, that doesn't matter because it's off. Simple as that. Frequency I set at 8, but I did drop it to 4 later to see how much more aggression it had on the trigger. Still brilliant. Voltage cutoff, I set it, I think, about 7.4. No, voltage cutoff, no, 7.1. Thermal cutoff, always set it at the lowest, which is 95. Personal preference. I hate things overheating. BEC output was set at 7.4. I like a quick servo, and the servo is nice and quick. Brake, I'm not going to talk about brake because brake is to your liking. Some people like aggressive brakes, some people don't. Some like a lot of drag, some like a little bit initial. Don't try and take it on board that one brake setting for one person would be better. It would be better for you because you might not be able to drive it depending on how you use the throttle, whether it be, pushing it forward or tapping it, which is what I do. I tap it just to get the car settled, coming in and then turn. Setting this thing up. Simple, very, very simple how it actually comes together on the phone. Now, we'll actually disconnect the fans because they're damn loud. which is a good thing. And I'll set up the camera in 2 seconds. Pardon me, kitties. Where are we? Where is? There is that. This is the other fan, which is the big 40mm on the actual car. I'll actually flip around, get this looking down on this, and start playing with a bit of the settings to give you an idea what you can play with. But it is brilliant. It is brilliant. And what astounded me the most in the running of the car with the V5Esc on the V4 motor, it made the motor feel like it had a lot more to give. The more you play with it, the higher you go. I'll be right back. Hold your horses. Alrighty, back again. This is basically the car. What I'll do is I'll connect the Bluetooth in, and then I'll start playing around with the settings and just go a bit more in depth on how easy it is to actually set this thing up. Now, I've got all the fans off, so it's not going to make any noise, but I'll connect the Bluetooth. Okay, turn it on. Little red light comes on, like a robot, whatever you want to call it. We go to good old, bear with me guys, go to my Bluetooth page and connect, and you'll see that connect is, whoops, go back again, connect will come up as the BLE connection, which is this one here. Hit connect, give it a couple seconds, and that's it, done. It's connected. Settings, throttle, there's your settings as they come through. Move the car back a bit. These settings as they come through. Pretty easy to read this and understand it. Throttle response, how quickly it responds, completion rate, throttle off rate, dead band, limiter, Once you set something, what you can do is literally just save. And so IP limiter, what I might do is on this one, go to that, go down from 6, go to 10. This will be for the next racing, and then hit save. Tells you a couple of seconds, goes to save. Nice and easy. Next one will be brake. Now brake, as I said before, is a personal choice. These are my settings that you can see there. That's how I like the car to drive, how the car to brake, I should say. And it is my preference. You can definitely change that to whatever you like it to be. Now I've got reverse at 100, but what I'll do is I'll tap that. Oh, that's right, and I'll go right down to, what do we go? We'll go right down as off. Okay, reverse brake off. So what I'll do is go to that and save it. That's now saved to the ESC. Nice and simple. Drag brake node. Brake frequency, I like it 4K. You can go to 8, you can go to 16, you can go to 32, whatever you like. It has, on a really slippery track, I'd suggest going 16 or 32. On a nice groomed sticky track, you can go as long as you like. I like it on 4. It works quite nicely at our track at Cirque and also at Geelong. Geelong, as I said, painted surface with grit, and Cirque is a boral painted asphalt surface, but we do sugar it down on race day just to settle the dust that goes onto the circuit because of the trees and everything else around the area. After we clean it, that is, obviously. So we go to the next one, which is boost. Don't use boost, unfortunately, can't talk about that. We don't do mod. I don't do mod myself, but we'll have Jordan Hunting, who has his 4.5 and ESC in his car this weekend. We'll get a report from him, what he reckons would be a good setting for mod and how he feels it actually makes his car feel. Okay. Turbo, again, no turbo. Now, general. Motor rotation, always counterclockwise. Motor poles, 2, not a 4. Running mode is forward and brake, not forward brake, reverse or otherwise. Delay on reverse, there is no reverse, so that doesn't come into play. Drive throttle frequency, 8K. I set it on 8K for Cirque, only because it felt nice to drive on 8K. I could go to 16, make it even smoother, but down at Geelong, I set it at 4, so it's got a bit more punch on the trigger. It works a little bit more aggressively, because you want to get in and out of the corners. As long as you don't hit anything, it'll actually handle 4K really nicely. Circ, when it is a little bit dusty or unsettled, it's better to keep it a little bit higher. All right, you don't get that possibility of wheel spin. All right, low voltage cutoff, there you go. I set it at 7.2, not 7.1 as I said before, 7.2. I like it to kill at that, which means the battery never gets down to that voltage, but that is my security, so I don't kill the battery. You've got to be careful on that side of the fence, all right? So it doesn't count per cell, it counts as a total voltage on the pack. Thermal cutoff, I leave it at 95, I don't go higher. I don't like the idea of cooking these things. I've done it once before and I didn't like it. Out of money out of my pocket, just like everyone else. You can't spend what you don't have, especially when you do silly things. Back output, I like 7.4 because of the servo. It tends to be really more responsive and controllable at 7.4, and there's no delay on the steering, which is the best part of it, even for an old dude like me. Then we go save. That's now saved, especially the reverse delay, blah blah blah. Where are we? Oh no, it didn't change anything like that. That's fine, not a problem. And back to throttle, and there are the settings for throttle. Now this is all up to interpretation and play depending on the surface that you're on. I can only speak about what I have done at both Geelong and Circ. I'm hoping to go to Templestowe, which is our northern track here, but it'll be depending on what family commitments I've got to basically go and agree to. So we'll see what happens on that. And then further from that, I think my mate Nick and I will be doing a road trip to Bendigo to see one of our other race team members, which is Theo, at his home track, which is Bendigo. Bendigo and these settings might just do the job quite nicely. Bendigo is very bumpy, but a aggressive surface track, so I think we can pump things up on these a little bit more and get more pull and more speed, because you get a big wide open back end sweeper, a long straight and then a big sweeper down to a 90-degree into the infield, and then a hairpin. Brilliant fast track if you get it right, and really nice. It is bumpy, so the car setup is going to be crucial on the day. We'll see how we go. This is, I hope, a somewhat simple explanation of what is possible on this, and there is so much there more to learn and try, depending on the track surface, depending on the driver, depending on the car setup. None of this is gospel. It is all something to be able to understand and apply. The more you play with it, the more you'll understand how far you can go depending on your skill level. If you're a mod A grade driver, fantastic, you'll knock it out of the park. Me, yeah, there's another story there, but we'll see where we can go. Now, as I said, with everything that's on this is brilliant. It hooks up immediately. There's no issues trying to actually make it work. It is easy to connect. You can, inside the box, oh, this is something I've got to show you guys. Yeah, I forgot about this. Inside the box is your manual. Not the Spanish, just the manual. Now, it is a little bit rough ready on how it's written. It does do the job. Explanations, text me, text Brian or anyone else that has one of these playing around with it to understand how it's written. But on the last page, there's your QR codes, scan them, and you're off and running. Okay, and they'll actually take you to the link to download the app. You also have, if that doesn't work, your website addresses, one for Android, one for Apple. The installation is quick and simple, really quick and simple, and as long as you follow the prompts on your phone, and you do have to allow it to be set to the location, not general, set to the location, it'll link up to your ESC dongle, so it'll connect to that immediately and work immediately. Have had no issues, and a couple other people that I've played with, no issues at all. I'll just get out of this one because, oh, something I forgot to tell you. After a run, connect it all together and there is a magnificent data bank of what your car's done down here, of what your car has done during the race. It'll read out input throttle percentage, how much percentage throttle you used, output throttle percentage, voltage, pack voltage, minimum voltage, temperature, maximum temperature, RPM, maximum advanced timing, and maximum timing. It is brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. It gives you a lot of data to play with, so you can see where you're heading, if it's in the right direction or not, and how you're driving the car. That's brilliant on this one. And now this works better than the actual PC interface with the V4. This comes up and shows you immediately what you've got. So now I'll disconnect, which is basically that button there. I hit disconnect, and that's it. It's off. No need to worry. Double tap to take it out. It's out of the screen. Close your phone. You're off and done. That's now finished. So what you normally would do is don't yank the damn thing, because the wires are really fine. Just hold it. It's off. Hold it down for about a second or two. It goes off. Now when you pull these out, because the plug is tiny, it's a tiny, tiny little micro. I've forgotten the name of it now. It's a Pico plug. They're a pain in the bum. You can't buy them locally. If you wreck it, send it to me. I'll fix it. I've got the plugs. But gently yank, pull it out, jiggle, jiggle, pull out. Not just with veins popping out of your neck. You don't want to do that, because once you pull those little pins out, it's going to be really fun for you to try and actually find locally at any electronics store that plug plus the terminals and a crimper to put it back together again. It is actually quite tight, which is good, so it won't come out, but a little bit of a jiggle and a pull out, not a yank. All right, you can only blame yourself if you break it, so just be wary of that part of it. The wires are really soft, really soft 12 gauge, which is nice. So it'll fit in a very tight area, and the wires will curl around very nicely. If you find though that you don't have the ability to get it in the tight area nice and clean, and you want to have it so it's more flexible. So I've actually put 14 gauge here to the battery, because it's got to come underneath the actual top deck. You can solder new wires onto the posts. Big word warning on here, very, very big warning. And I'm saying this from past experience, my dumb experience, what I've done as well. If you want to change those to more flexible 14 or 13 gauge or whatever, yes, you can. If you burn the terminal off the board, you've gone too far. You've held your iron on the work, on the ESC for too long extended period. Tin your iron, and then literally dab a solder to help it flow, and a 400 to 405C tip on a 40 watt iron like the Team Powers iron, which is brilliant, or something like a Nosram LRP or something similar, where you can set your temperature really high with a 5mm chisel tip. Okay, not a small tip. It has to be a 5mm, no less, because it carries the heat. If you don't do that, you will not carry the heat. You will burn the post off the circuit board, and in turn it will creep onto your board and you will destroy the FETs. It's got to be so fast and so quick. No warranty, guys. Just remember this: if you try and you bugger it up, there is no warranty. This is why I'm telling you this now. It is for people that are comfortable using high-end soldering irons to be able to do the job. I have no reservations here in Australia, someone attempting it, but if you burn those connectors off the board, they are silver soldered, and at 410C, at a long enough period, they'll fall off. So it has to be 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. If you do butter it up, and I open it up if you send it back to have a look at it, and the FETs are actually cooked on the board, because it's literally connected directly to the FET board. Sorry guys, no warranty. New board, got to go back to TP in Hong Kong. They'll assemble it with a new board, plus freight, plus board, freight there, freight back, plus board. You're looking at a couple of $100. All right, so don't do it if you're not comfortable. Send it in to me. I'm happy to do it. I wear all responsibility, not you. And I'm happy to put the more softer, smaller wire in it, like 14 or 13 gauge. If you're supplying the wire, preferably all pure copper, not tinned copper. It solders a lot better. Otherwise, I'll only be using what wire I have here, which is tinned 14 gauge and pure copper 12. All right, so if you're not comfortable, you need it shortened on the ESC, I'm happy to do it, obviously at a cost of postage and wire, but I wear the warranty. So, but if you do it and you burn it, you're on your own, guys. And this is just something as good advice from me to you to understand what you can and can't do. As you can see there, that's what I've done. 14 gauge to the batteries, 12 gauge to the motor. I was tempted to do the ESC on 14, but I thought, no, I've got 13 gauge pure copper super flex, 1770 strand, 13 gauge pure copper coming in about a month's time, give or take. Expensive, a lot of wire coming through, expensive as all hell, but it's what it seems to suit everything. Torque scale, sorry, see, it's not torque scale. Torque scale is better in 16 gauge, but it'll suit all touring cars and all electric off-road in 1/10 as well, which makes it suitable to use on just about anything that's electric in 1/10. Oh, and other applications as well. Hopefully that gives you a bit more light on what you can and can't do. But these are included, whoops, that's very bright. These are included in the actual, how would you call it, in the box with the ESCs to read and understand. Because that is a definition of all the bits and pieces of what the ESC can do. This pink sheet is the recommended defaults. Use them as a starting point, work from there forward or backwards. As I said, I'm running default on all forward. Brakes are set up to my feel, the way I like it. I don't like telling people how to run those brakes because some people don't like it. I like it. Okay. Any other questions you have and you'd like to know more on, if you have any problems setting it up on your phone, Android, yes, I can help. Apple, I don't. Sorry, I don't run an Apple. It'll be the same. It'll be basically setting up the same parameters and make it exact point where you've got to connect it. So set the point where you connect it. Be careful using that. Do not yank it off the plug, off the ESC. Press it in with your fingernail or something like 1.5 millimeter wrench, just to make sure that you can actually get it into the point correctly. The ESC does come with a remote switch. I don't run it. I just like to switch on the ESC. I can get my finger to it quite nicely. If you are having trouble trying to get to the ESC switch, plug this in. It plugs in at the back of the ESC and you can route it anywhere. Especially good in off-road vehicles because it's harder to actually get your finger around sometimes to get to the on-off button in an off-road vehicle because the ESC sits in the middle and you can't get your finger there quite easily without taking the body off. So that'd be good for the off-road guys, right? So use it. It's there for a reason, to make your life easier. Okay. What else? Yeah, keep it clean. It runs. The curious thing about it as well, it actually runs much cooler than what the V4.1 did. At the moment, I've seen maybe about a 5-degree drop in running temperature for the motor and for the ESC as well. Now, you can run in mod, you can run without the actual fan. In stock, run or don't run it. That's up to you. I run fans on both, motor and ESC. I don't like things getting hot, but you can do it either way. It is up to you what you want to try. But I've seen guys run it without the fan, especially if they're trying to save weight. All right, so that's something that you can look at and try if you want to do. That's it. I'm out of ideas. It's been fantastic having you here and listening to what I've got to jab on about. As I said, take it all on board as an indication of what you can and can't do. It's all information. What you do with information is up to you, and I do trust that you will take it on board as being good advice. If you find something good, tell us. If you find something that's a bit annoying or otherwise, tell us. We don't know what to do until we get feedback from you guys, the racers. So write it down, text it to me, WhatsApp or Messenger, or even email, it doesn't really matter. Take it on board. Andy from TP likes to know a lot of stuff, feedback, which is good. It is good for the brand. Good feedback, bad feedback, we don't care as long as we get feedback. Thankfully, a lot of the feedback has been really positive, very, very good positive for the V3, V4 motors and the V4 4.1 ESCs. Now we're waiting to see what feedback we get on the V5. As it stands, I reckon we're going to get some real good feedback, especially in relation to how it delivers power to the motor being used. Obviously, there's going to be guys that will be running 10 powers V5BT Esc, but different motors. It will suit just about every motor on the market, and there's a lot of brands out there. The only one that I know has had an issue has been the two that have had issues, and still it's hit and miss when the issues stick their heads up, is Soldering and R.A.B, because of the way they've designed the sensor board. Some people have had luck, some people haven't. Try it, see what happens. Tell us, we'd like to know. I'd like to be able to cater for a lot of variety. Obviously it is designed all on TP motors, but we know that it can run on other motors, because there are other guys, not team members, that have run other motors and have had no issues at all. Thank you for your time. It is greatly appreciated. I hope I haven't bored you too much, and it's been a good bit of information and sucking it in. It's gone over 30 minutes. My God, that's the longest I've ever spoken for. I don't even have these conversations this long with the wife. Must fix that, I think. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves. Don't do anything silly. I'll catch you guys here in Victoria and Australia at the racetrack next time I see you. Have a conversation. Come and see me. I don't bite. I growl, but I don't bite. Feed me coffee, then I'm fine for the rest of the day. Maybe a donut as well. Don't ever overlook a donut. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for the support to all the racers, the team guys out there that do a fantastic job on the product. Myself, Nick, Brian, the elusive Grant, there's Adrian, there's the list goes on. There is Justin, there's Simon Healy and the kids, and I'm going to be really bad because I keep forgetting. The list is 20 people long. You know who you are. Thank you very much for your time and effort in running the product and promoting it. Alessandro, and the name's coming to my mind now. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much for your support and the time and effort that you put into running the product and keeping us entertained and informed. And also for the guys out there that that are not drivers, team drivers, thank you very much for the support and the trust in the product. We greatly appreciate it, and we do our best, myself and the rest of the crew, do our best to keep you informed of what's good, what's bad, what's coming up, what's not coming up. Things are moving so fast, sometimes we skip a beat, and sometimes we'll get that beat back up and running so we know what we're talking about. Again, for the last time, going once, going twice, thank you for your time. Have a good night. Be kind to your parents. Bye guys. Take care.